What's going on, YouTube? Northeast Ohio back for our little weekly recap in the wonderful wild world of the sports card market that we have all chosen to play in. And what a week it's been. It's the start of the NBA season, and it's crazy town out there. Like, absolutely crazy. I made that video on Christmas Eve morning. Um, and the NBA market is just as wild as it's ever been. So we are going to 99.9% talk about NBA this morning. We are briefly going to touch on the NFL. When I say briefly, before we get into it, YouTube nonsense down below. We'll be living in Market Movers today. All the links to Market Movers and the discount card code are also down below in the description. Also, I have been on Twitter, but I am formally announcing my Twitter presence. I will link to or put my Twitter handle in the description down below, but it's basically the same as the YouTube channel. It is NEOSportscards. I haven't tweeted a ton yet from it. I made it. We'll kind of just see what happens and go from there. So, also, one last thing, and then we'll dive into the shenanigans. We hit 2,700 subs this morning, or overnight, I guess. I'm recording this Sunday morning. I typically record this Saturday night, but I think I'm going to have to change my recording schedule because the NBA values just change so quickly that I feel like recording Saturday night before the games play is not a good idea. So this might be going up a little later on Sunday mornings than it typically used to. We will see how things shake out. But overnight, we hit 2,700 subscribers, which was awesome. So we were on the road to 3K. So I say this many videos. For the 60% of you not subscribed that watch these videos, according to YouTube analytics, click the subscribe button. Let's make this thing happen. I'd like to hit, I'm going to set a lofty goal, and honestly, I don't think we're going to hit it. But can I get 300 subscribers in 4 days? Can we get to 3K by the new year? Can we do it? I don't know. I don't think we can. Based off of the analytics, I don't think we can. But we never know. You never know. All right. Let's get into it. First, football. And like I said, football is going to be brief. I just wanted to do a quick check-in on the 2020 Prism. And it appears that we have finally hit the point where it has stabilized. Hurts is still going up a little bit as he continues to play really well, but Herbert over the last 7 days is only down 1%. So he's essentially stabilized at 150 for his base Prism. 2 is down 5%. Joe Burrow's up 1%. So it looks like your class currently sits at Herbert at 150, Joe Burrow at 80, Tua at 60, and Hurts at 55. Out of the four of those and those prices, I think the only one, to me, the best value is still Hurts at 55. He looked like the real deal last week against the Cardinals. We'll see what he looks like today. Who knows? But I honestly am putting very little, if any, money into NFL. It just does not make sense, in my opinion. The injury risks, the fickle nature of that market. It makes no sense because you could just pop right on over here to the NBA market. Let's get into it. Yeah. So we're on the price movements by card chart, which I use extremely frequently. I probably use this chart more than anything else in the tool, just especially for these videos mostly. And I have this sorted by basketball and by number of sales. So at the top is shocking. Wait for it. Ja. Ja has driven the entire market this week when you are extremely hyped and trendy to start the season. And you're the darling, one of the darlings of the 2019 class. And then you come out and drop 44 points for a new career high on opening night. That's what happens. So as of right now, right now, Morant is driving the entire NBA market. The number one card in the last 7 days is his base Prism PSA 10 at 255 sales. But when you move down this list, he is in slot 1, slot 4, slot 6, slot 7, and like slot 12 for his various different cards. It's his Prism base leading the charge, his Mosaic base, and his Prism base PSA 9, and then his Prism base Raw. I found it interesting that his 10 and his 9 have more sales than Raw cards, which is just, I don't know. I don't know what that means, but it just seems interesting. Also, big time mover on the week, and we'll look at individual charts here in a minute. RJ Barrett, Zion's way up. A lot of guys, pretty much everyone's way up. When you look at this chart, and hold on. The YouTube comments are yelling at me to zoom in. So the one thing you see here, the percentage change and the price change, this column right here. Look at how much green there is. I'm going to go ahead and start scrolling down. Poor Kobe White in the red. His base Prism Raw. And then let's keep scrolling. Green. Kobe White once again. A random Kobe Bryant. A Luka. Green. Some random 17th year LeBron stuff. You get the point. The entire market is basically going absolutely crazy right now in the wonderful world of the NBA. So let's get into some individual player charts. Let's talk about a guy going down. The late, the great, the legend, Bull. Both his PSA 10 Prism, PSA 10 base Prism and his Prism Raw are both down 30 to 50% over the last 7 days. His PSA 10 was at about 260 and is down. I'm sorry, was at 180 and is down to about 125. And his Raw was at $12 and is down to $6. I mean, I don't know what you expect, guys. It's Bull. He's not going to play. Except for scrimmages and practices and preseasons. He's just not going to get a lot of playing time. That team is ridiculously deep. So I don't know what you were thinking, investing a bunch of money in the Bull, thinking this was going to be the year. Maybe it still will be, but they're going to have a ton of injuries for that to happen. And he's going to get run in some blowouts and stuff. So rip to the Bull market. Yeah, not shocking at all. That one didn't work out. Maybe it turns around, maybe not. He was one of the ones that had a really big drop. The other one, and I did not pull the chart for him, is Rui Hachimura. He's going to be out for like 3 weeks at minimum due to some crazy version of pink eye. And his prices have trended down based strictly off that news. I do feel like if you're a believer in Rui, there's probably a buying opportunity there as this stuff continues to slide, because he was pretty trendy to start the season. And as we've seen in this market, as you'll see very quickly here on the rest of these charts, if a player has a good game or a couple good games, their prices are going to go crazy. So if he bottoms out over the next week or so, there's probably a good opportunity to sneak in and maybe grab some stuff if you missed out on him for his potential return. Next up, who I believe is probably the favorite for the MVP early in this season. One of the favorites anyway. AD, base PSA 10 Prism, is up 20% on the week, back up over 2K. That's up $333 over the last 7 days. And it's probably going to be, if I had to bet right now, it's going to be him or KD. And I didn't pull charts for KD because it's pretty obvious KD's prices went crazy. Gary V tweeted about him, and then his looked great. As of right now, if I had to bet, it's either AD or KD for MVP. I don't think the Mavs, as much as I love Luka, don't look like they're going to be very good without Porzingis. And the West is extremely tough. So they're probably going to be towards the bottom of the Western Conference playoff standings. They're probably, the Mavericks, as crazy as it sounds, barring a crazy trade, are probably a play-in tournament team Um, the Lakers and Nets look like 1 or 2 seeds, easy. So if I had to bet, I think one of those two are the MVP candidate favorite. We'll see where that ends up shaking out. But needless to say, AD is up quite a bit. But he is nothing in compared to some of these guys. My boys, actually, we're going to talk about 2 back-to-back. I probably talked about this guy more than anybody else in the preseason, along with maybe KPJ and a few others. Shout out to my KPJ shares wallowing as he is away from the team for an unknown reason. But Darius Garland was so cheap in the offseason. And this is one of those ones where I made good money on it, but I sold too soon on Star Stock specifically. I bought these in the fall on Star Stock, not the PSA 10 Raws, for like $4 to $5 a piece. I sold them for around $15 to $20 a piece. And now they're like $30 or $35 a piece. But regardless, his base PSA 10 Prism and his everything is up. PSA 10 Prism is up 65%. It started the week off at under $100 and is up to $150, and he has looked absolutely fantastic. He went for like 22 and 10 last night or something, and had a similar stat line in his first game, and he looks like the real deal when it comes to point guards, and I think his stuff's going to keep going up because I think he's going to keep playing well. Don't forget, this guy was a top 5 pick last year. He had a weird situation where he missed an entire college season, was trying to figure things out last year, and all reports were that he was the best player in their preseason camp, and he has come out like gangbusters. Also, and full disclosure, I talk crap about this guy all the time. I am not sure that he is like the greatest NBA player in the world, but the dude can score, and that's his running mate, Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton will give you 35 and literally nothing else. My famous quote about Colin Sexton is that he is Lou Williams 2.0. When it comes to long-term holds, I would much rather be carrying Darius Garland than Sexton, in my opinion. Sexton is a one-trick pony, and I think on a championship level team, he is probably the perfect 6th man coming off your bench, aka Lou Williams 2.0. However, on the Cavs, he just gets buckets and gets about 2 assists a game to go with his 40 shots. But Sexton is also up big time, 40% on the week. He started it off at 130. He ended it at 185. Honestly, between the two, I would put money into Garland before Sexton. That's just me. I'm going to die on this hill no matter what happens. But I think Garland has a way more upside than Colin Sexton does as an actual NBA player. I know that does not always matter for the card market. Chicks dig points, and Sexton definitely does do that. I cannot take that away from him. And the Cavs have looked spicy. My Cleveland Cavaliers 2-0 and atop the Eastern Conference. We're not going to pay attention that we are 3 days into the season. Everybody's favorite. The whole world loves this dude. Keldon Johnson, PSA 10 Prism base. Everything is up on him. This is up 40% on the week. Started off at 100, ending at about 150. And he has looked absolutely fantastic. Not making the charts this week for the purposes of this, but Lonnie Walker has looked pretty good as well. And the Spurs in general have looked pretty good. Shocking. Everyone writes them off, myself included. And they come out of the gates balling. No surprise there. But KJ has looked absolutely fantastic and is extremely trendy. And he really hasn't he's had 2 very good games. He has not had like a crazy game yet. So if he has like, I lead the team in scoring one night with like 35 or something, look out. Next, let's get into the big boys. Trey Young. Trey Young. His prices went crazy in the preseason because they made all the moves. Then they dipped way down. Not dipped way down, but some of the shine came off that as people cashed out. And now we are right back up. Actually past, I believe, his previous highs. His base PSA 10 Prism on the week is up 20%, which doesn't sound like a ton, but it's $120. When you get into the high end cards, 10% swings add up to quite a bit of money. He is nipping at the heels of $700 for his base Prism PSA 10. And I don't see this stopping anytime soon. I firmly believe this will be a $1,000 card very quickly. It may be there within the next 2 weeks if he keeps doing what he's doing. He has looked absolutely fantastic to start the season. I watched most of that Hawks Memphis game yesterday. It was a blast. And the Hawks look pretty good so far. I was a little concerned they might come out a little bit rough, but they've had some favorable matchups the first 2 games out. So we'll keep an eye on this one, but I really do think Trey is going to be a $1,000 card very, very quickly for his base PSA 10. Let's talk about a silver really quick. We don't talk about silvers a ton on here, but I'm going to touch on it because this one went absolutely wild too. Also up 23% for a almost $650 price change. This card started the week out at about 2,700 and is ending it at almost 3,400. These silvers, man, it's what really drives the market. They usually go up even before the base Prism PSA 10s. And I think I'm going to do a video. I had this thought this morning on a couple of these guys to see, like, if you miss the boat on specifically like Trey or Ja, like, are there still smart buys out there? And I think the answer to that question is definitely yes, because I think their stuff's going to keep going up. Sure, you've left some money on the table by not buying in sooner, but we can always play the what if game. But I do think there are some things that have slipped through the cracks. I have not dug into the data on it yet. I made one Ja purchase right after his 44-point game, and I still feel pretty good about it. That'll be here on Wednesday, so hopefully Wednesday. Who knows with USPS. I'm excited to get that one in my hands. I have a ton of Ja already, but I wanted something a little nicer, a little higher end, and a little lower pop count. So we'll talk about that once it gets here. But I may do a little bit of a deep dive on Trey and Ja to see where we could still sneak in at while the rest of their cards have gone absolutely nuts. Speaking of going nuts, RJ Barrett, a man I love to hate. I do not think he is very good at NBA basketball. Yes, I understood he went off in his first game, but how soon we forget he looked like crap in his second game. Now, I sold off a good portion of my RJ before the season started. I still have a decent portion. I sold off all my Mosaic and Optic, and I still have all my Prism. I have a couple at PSA. I'm probably going to look to move the rest of the base Prism that I have. I'm going to see what he does for one more game and then kind of go from there. Needless to say, he is way up, though. Last 7 days, PSA 10 Prism started the week off at 180 and is up exactly $100 or $99 to 281, which is a 54% price movement. You could see he peaked out on Christmas Day and he actually slipped back just a little bit, $8 going into the next day because he did not look good last night at all. I think he was 1 for 15 at one point in time last night after not missing on the day before Christmas Eve. So we will see where he settles out at. I am just not a big long-term believer in RJ Barrett. And what I've seen so far this season has not changed my mind, even though he came out on fire. I made some really nice money on Star Stock flipping a couple RJ Barretts that night. I'm going to do a separate Star Stock video this week, kind of updating where I stand. His Silver Prism, we'll glance at that really quickly. Started the week off at 700 and is ending the week off at almost 1,300. An 83% price change on his Silver Prism, up almost $600 in 7 days. The NBA market is a wild world. Let's talk about the final 2 big ones, Ja and Zion. We're going to look at their bases and we're going to look at their silvers. My biggest prediction to start the season was that at some point in time, one, Ja-based prisms will crack $1,000. We're getting real close already. My bigger one was that Ja prices will surpass Zion's prices. And he's creeping. Now, all it's going to take is one Zion 50-point game and everything goes out of the water. But Ja-based prism up 40% on the week almost. Started the week off at 560. It ended at 777. And I can confirm that there have been sales at right at 800 to slightly over 800 already. Zion started the week off at 781, ends it just shy of 1,000 at 968, up 20%. So Ja has gained quite a bit just this last 7 days. You can see blue line is Ja, pink line is Zion, and the two are beginning to get a little closer together. Zion has looked absolutely fine. He's 30 and 10, 20 and 10, or whatever he put up in his first two games. Pelicans have been playing okay, but Zion has not looked terrible. He looks a little big, but not like bubble big. But Ja has just come out with a flamethrower on the league and has looked absolutely fantastic. His biggest problem is I don't know that the Grizzlies are very good right now. With Jaren Jackson Jr. being hurt, I think that really hurts them. They really, really need him. Brandon Clark, to me, has looked not great. And if I had a bunch of Brandon Clark, I may look to start to move it. I know he's super young, but he just has not. This is really his time to shine with JJJ being out, and he has not shown me anything. To me right now, Dylan Brooks is the second best player on that team with Joval until JJJ gets back. So let's briefly look at their silvers respectively, and then we will get out of here. Once again, both went crazy, and both the lines are narrowing. Ja Silver up 44%. It started the week off at a little over $3,300. It ends the week at $4,800, up $1,500 in 7 days. How freaking crazy is that? Up $1,500 in 7 days on his silver. This market is crazy. Zion up 15% from 5,500 to 6,500. A little under 6,500, $875 change. And he was just been fine. Wait for him to have a big game. But yeah, Ja to me is the story of the season so far, and what his prices have done, which is good for me because I probably have more Ja than any other player. Ja and Luka are probably my two, and actually Kevin Porter Jr. My two biggest stakes of the modern guy, the ultra modern guys, are Ja and Luka. I have tons of Ja. And I feel really good about sending that redemption in, as I mentioned in the last video. So that's all I have for you guys this morning. I think the next video, and it depends if I can find anything. I'm sure that I can. I'm going to dig into Ja and Trey specifically and see if there's any meat left on that bone, which I'm sure that there is. I just got to find it. So I'm going to do a deep dive into those two and see what we can find, especially on the more lower pop count stuff like optic color variations, stuff like that, select, and see if we can find some stuff that hasn't price moved yet, like the other stuff has over the same 7-day window. And then I'm going to do probably a star stock update video at some point in time in regards to where my collection sits. I think I might do one of those once a week. I don't know yet. But those are the next two semi-planned things. And then, as always, it's the NBA. Wild stuff happens constantly. So if something crazy happens, I will attempt to pop on and go from there. That being said, I think I'm going to continue with, I don't know, you guys may or may not have noticed. I don't know how many people notice these things. This past week or so, normally I was posting my videos in the early afternoon, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This past week, I was started posting them first thing in the morning, like 8 or 9 a.m. And judging by the YouTube analytics, you guys seem to like that. So I think I'm going to keep rolling with that as much as I possibly can. Obviously, things are going to happen and I'm going to record stuff whenever and get it out as soon as possible. But for stuff I'm planning to release, like this Trey video, I think I'm going to post those first thing in the morning, 8 or 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just an FYI going forward, anything that I can pre-record the night before, I will have it post first thing in the morning the next morning. But that's all I have for you guys officially. Like, comment, sub. Can we make it? Can we get to 3K in 4 days? I'm throwing the gauntlet down. Peace.